Good evening, everyone. Sorry, struggling with the YouTube with the Zoom. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Good
Yeah.
evening. All right. Let's go ahead and open up. If we can get a motion to start and accept the agenda, we can go ahead and begin.
That we start the meeting.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
All right. It is really great to see you guys. I know I missed a month. Apologies for my absence. I had a death in my immediate family, but it's really great to see everyone today. And we're going to begin with welcoming our new commissioner member, Ms. Cecilia T. Tolson. If you can go ahead and just if you would like to introduce yourself and say a few words.
So
I
just wanted to say good evening to everyone, and it is Cecilia D. Tolson. And actually, my name is misspelled, but it's perfectly fine, or whatever. This is my first time serving on the commission, so I am looking forward to it. I'm very excited about the opportunity.
Well, Commissioner Tolson, we want to make sure that we spell everyone's name correctly. It's very important.
It was okay on the contact sheet, so it was perfectly fine.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. We're so glad to have you here. You complete our little merry band. Says that we are a commission of 7, and we're so grateful to have you. We're going to go into the program presentation. Again, I just want to say I missed y'all, so it's nice to see y'all.
Condolences to you and your family.
Thank you. Thank you. I received that. Thank you so much. So we sent out Ms. Warner Wiggins. First of all, thank you so much for all of your work. I want to publicly acknowledge you every chance I get, because I know we send you a flurry of emails, a flurry of questions, and you always respond with grace and you give us as much as we need. So I thank you for that. We do have we're going to go right into it. I wanted to go over this particular slide deck because, and thank you for putting it on the screen, because we are going to be going out, as we talked the last time, in relation to going out to the community, and we'll talk about that at the outreach part. And I wanted to make some edits to this particular PowerPoint, and I kind of wanted to go through it with it as a group to make sure that we know what we're changing and also kind of have conversation around that. If at any point you need to request like what I'm actually saying in regards to changing it, please do. But we're going to start with just kind of my thoughts on what we need to remove and then add and things of that nature. And again, this is a dialogue, so please jump in. Okay. So first off, on the first page, we can remove the date of March 13th. I think let's take that off. And then I'm always a fan of like reference numbers. So I see that we have like Fair Election Fund Commission. I'm wondering if we should just have under it just like where the date would have been, just maybe centering and putting the actual call numbers for the law. I say call numbers, but I'm sure there's a more accurate term. So those are my thoughts on that. Also, if you keep going, removing the agenda, we could take that out because I think that was just for us. And then it goes straight into the introductions. My suggestion is just for the order of things as we're presenting this to the public, we add a page right here. After the title card, we add a page that explains what fair elections is, a brief history of how we got here, and a reference to other jurisdictions practice and application. And the reason why I say that is instead of just jumping into like who we are, we're going to get to that. I think we first need to explain exactly what the fair elections is. And just go ahead, Keisha. I'm sorry.
You like almost like a purpose slide, like kind of like
yeah, like this is what the fair elections is versus hey, this is all the commissioners and here's the contact information. We're gonna get to that, and surely we are important in this capacity. But I think first we just need to explain the history of the fair election, what the fair elections is, the history of it in context to Prince George's County, and then referencing other jurisdictions. And I say the other jurisdictions part because we need to make sure the public knows that this isn't like something singular to Prince George's County, that this is done throughout the state of Maryland in other jurisdictions.
Just a clarification. So do you want
Yes,
to
ma'am.
mention that other jurisdictions have similar programs, or you want
Yeah.
something more than that? Oh, okay.
We could just mention that they have similar programs and then their program start dates, maybe.
Okay.
Commissioner Teacher.
Yeah, I wanted to say it's really useful at the very start to say why, the purpose, so why this program is put into place. And the purpose in the sense of what the issues are with the current way we practice democracy and who gets included and whose voices do not, and what the purpose of this is. And I think, I can dig through the initial state bill on this issue, which was the enabling legislation. And the initial bill CB4 that was there, and I can send a couple of sentences on this.
I think that's that's appropriate and fair too. I think, I'm always I just want to see the language around it. I'll say it that way. I don't want anyone to misinterpret our goal in regards to informing the public about what the Fair Elections is. And to your point, how it came about. We're not trying to convince anyone of anything. We're just informing people of like, hey, this is the history. This is how this came about. This is the reason why, and this is why this is done in other jurisdictions as well. So I just want to make sure that language is clear as we communicate to our community. So again, I'm fine with it. I just want to make sure that we are very intentional about our language. We don't want people to assume that we're trying to convince people that fair elections is good. We don't have to do that. It's already in legislation. We're just going to explain why it got there and then how we are to support it. So after that part, after the page around what the fair elections is, I think the next page should be a page about the legislative makeup of the commission. So the actual language around the commission's makeup, who appoints and things of that nature. And then after that, the commission responsibilities. So what the fair elections is, and then we can get into the commission. Again, the legislative makeup, who appoints who, things of that nature, the commission's responsibility, and then move into the introductions page. And then I would say remove introductions and just change the title to commissioners and county staff. And I would like if people are doctors or Mrs. or Mr., whatever the surname is, I think we should include that on this particular page. For commissioners, I go by JM, so you would be removing my full first name. Miss A Diane goes by A Diane, so we would be putting A Diane on that part. We can include just Esquire for Terry Bell, Mr. Maddox, just so they can understand that they are like essentially our lawyers. And again, whatever the appropriate surname upon that, Miss or Mrs. Nelson or Dr. Nelson, whatever that would be.
For that piece, I would need everyone to tell me what their preferred name would be.
If you guys could drop that in the chat or just send to her email, either way, I would appreciate that.
So are we putting those, I don't even know what they call them, surnames in front of commissioners and staff?
So it would be, instead of introductions, the top part would be commissioners and county staff. And then you would have that, you'd still have the little title card of commissioners and county staff. And then it would be, like for my name, it'd be Mrs. J.M. Parker, chair. Ms. or Mrs. Satitra C. Bellatron, vice chair. Ms. or Dr. or Mrs. Monique Jackson, like that. Because you're already listed under commissioners.
Right. So for consistency, are we also doing that for the county staff section as well? the Mr., the Miss, the Doctor.
Yes,
Oh,
good point. Thank you, Ms. Nelson. Yes, Commissioner Nelson. Yeah, I would like that as well. So then after those changes, I think then we go into the key provisions slide. And then after the key provision slide, move the fair elections funding special non-lapsing slide to be after the key provision slide. Then we're going to move the requirements for certification slide, and then the 2 key changes slides would come after that. So what I'm looking at in regards to the order would be the title card, the purpose of fair elections with the history, the legislative makeup of the legislative makeup and language around the commission, then commission responsibilities, then the introduction page, then key provisions, then the fair election funding non-lapsing fund slide, then the requirements for certification slide, and then the 2 key changes slides. There's like 2 key changes slides. We would have that. Now I want to add a slide. I think we should add a slide that includes the calculations that we got from, I'm gonna say OMB, but someone's gonna correct me. It's like, it's not OMB. But remember, the report that we got that we based our calculations on when we gave our recommendations, I think we should include a slide that had, go ahead, teacher. I know you know that one.
Oh, so yeah, it's from, it was from OMB. It was the fiscal policy note for the bill.
I think we should include that slide here, kind of explaining how we got to our recommendation for the fiscal year of 2025, and then putting the citation of that we got it from OMB. So right here, we would put, you know, just kind of the calculations from OMB, how we think that the fund should be funded based on the calculations that we got from OMB with the citation.
So, yeah,
ahead.
I just wanted to add that we also had that discussion, I think a few meetings ago of, I think it was a revised kind of look at it, the revised look that OMB sent us, which said, what fraction, in other counties, what fraction of people chose public financing, what fraction of them succeeded in getting fully matched. I think that might be, I don't know if that's necessary for us to, but it might be a useful way of looking at it, that it is not an easy hurdle for candidates to overcome in order to get certified, and it's not an easy hurdle for them to get fully matched. And this program is set up intentionally to ensure that it's only candidates with a lot of popular support for their ideas who are then become eligible to get the full match.
I wouldn't mind putting that in this presentation, but I wouldn't put it right here.
Okay.
Because I have 2 more slides I want to run by you guys, and then I think it would be best to go after those 2 slides, and you guys can tell me what you think. So we put did you have something to say, Miss A. Diane?
Yes. Can you explain why we want to put some additional information from other counties in there? I didn't understand that last.
So I think sometimes, when we talk about this, this campaign and this program out in the public, there is some feeling that there are other projects or other issues for which funding is needed, and we shouldn't be spending money on elections. And I think the sort of emphasis, we could emphasize that in the beginning, is that the reason this program is there is so that the ideas that people have and the way they want to be governed, somebody with those similar ideas can actually get elected to office without appealing to deep pockets and special interests for funding to run for office. So it is only after you have met those benchmarks of qualification and striving to get contributions from people that the signal is sent to the budgetary place where this money is kept, that this is the person who has support from the community and through their contributions have shown that they can meet the eligible match. Does that make sense?
But
So
it's still not the question as to why are we keep referencing other counties. That's what I don't understand.
no, other counties are referenced only because they've run the program, the same
So-
type of program, and therefore that's where we get our data from. That it's not easy to get to a full match. It's
Right.
not easy to qualify, etc.
Right.
So
but
that's all.
I don't think we should just continue saying other counties when we reference the other counties in some of the, in the initial slide. I don't think we should just keep reference the other counties. If we're gonna reference them, we need to just do it one time, but not all through your document, because this is Prince George's County Fair Election Funds Commission.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Okay.
Okay. So I think, so after we put the OMB, slide, there is a slide that says, I'm looking at it from my thing too. There's a slide that says FY 2025 budget, proposed budget. I would like to add 2 additional tables because this is the proposed budget from the county executive. I think it's appropriate that we need to put our actual request, like our request, on the same kind of platform, as well as something that Commissioner Diane, you had brought this up a while ago, and then Commissioner Satitra kind of answered this question. This was a while back though, around what funding would have looked like if we had originally funded it at the time that it had been passed. And so I think that it would be appropriate to have 3 kind of panels. This first panel where we're showing the kind of current allocation, calculations. The second one showing our request. Even if we go, I think we shouldn't go to 2026 though. I think we should stay with just 2025, our request for 2025. And then another panel of what would have been if this had been funded from maybe 2022, when it wasn't passed in 2022.
2018.
2018,
2019.
2019, 2021, to show how our request just catches us up to what it would have been or thereabout at that time. And I'm open for this to not go on this same slide as well. If you feel like it should go to a different slide, or if you feel like it should not be on, just kind of,
I think
in that conversation, if I recall, I was saying that we should not. I mean, I don't know. I don't see the significance of putting what could have been. We should be just focused on what we have now.
So if I could respond.
Hold on. Let's let Commissioner Diane finish. Go ahead.
I think if you put, what we proposed this year, then that's fine. But I don't think we should go back in 2022 and say, if we had done this then, it would have been that. I think we could say what we asked for if we want and say what we got, but not going all the way back. I don't see the relevance of that. That's just me.
I will say this. No, I appreciate that, Commissioner. I will say this. The only reason why I feel even a bit strongly about including it, but I'm also very, I think that we're having this conversation as a group and that we should be comfortable with what we're putting out and what we're presenting. So I'm definitely open to any suggestions and changes. The reason why I wanted to put that on is when I wanted to show this is why we're asking for so much, because we didn't get the initial funding when this was passed. Now, if you feel like that sort of transparency would do more to harm the messaging that we're trying to put out than to help, that's definitely open for conversation. But I wanted to be clear on why I felt like it should be included, because we are asking for like essentially a portion to get back to where we should have been. And I
Right.
think it's fair to explain that to someone, because that could be the question when you're presenting. Well, why are you asking for, this much? And then we would have to go back and kind of reference, well, if this had been funded in 2018 at this rate, then we would not be asking for this much at this time.
I think if we had a forum and someone asked that question, maybe we could do a dialogue about that, but putting it in the this official document, I think we had this conversation, last couple of weeks ago, last month, where I was saying that I don't think that all that information needs to be publicized.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
I don't see any relevance.
Okay.
So let me just jump in for 1 second, is that I think one of the things that would be the audience for this and the different ways, that we're going to need some different length of presentations. And so there are different audiences that will be interested in the detail, and some that, I can envision that I'm a nerdy kind of guy and sometimes likes to get into the weeds, and I understand a lot of other people don't. So there may be a way after we get through all this that we want to come up with another version. So this could be the long version or something, in which we do the shorter version, but have essentially like an appendix or additional information that if you want to understand how we got to this, here's some other detail. And anyway, so for me, once we get through all this, I like to come back to it with fresh eyes and think about, if I was going to present to different audiences, how I would, pick and choose different parts. But I'd sure like to have available, a fair amount of detail, but not always present that, because I think people just glaze over, and we want to get some other highlights off into audiences.
I think that's a good point.
Madam
Go
Chair,
ahead.
I think you made a good point about, do you feel it would be more harm? I just think it would be harmful, I think, to put that in there.
So then the other part about it.
I don't
Go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
I don't think we are here to expose what our internal process is. This is what we can say what we asked for. This is what we got, but go all the way back to 22 and how we got there and what we're supposed to be doing. I just don't think that's appropriate.
Okay. So teacher, Commissioner teacher.
Yeah, so I thought somewhere earlier we said on one of the slides that you were going to discuss kind of the history of the legislation. So if we're going to do, and we're going to discuss how we got to this fiscal number that we asked for, right? Because those are also kind of details in the weeds. If we don't want to put this in, we shouldn't be putting all that in either. And when the bill was passed in 2018, in most counties, when a bill is passed, it takes effect for the next election. Ours did not take effect for the next election. It went to the election after that. And the reason for that was stated before the vote was taken in 2018. And the reason for the fifth person who voted for this was that we needed more time to accumulate the money that was needed for this, because we were not a wealthy county. So having said that, and that being the reason for, and that was approved by the other four who supported the person who made that comment. I mean, that was the reason why the program is starting in 26 and did not start in 22, right? So given that, there should have been money accumulated all this time, and we should not have found ourselves in this position. It's not nothing to do with our commission. It was just formed last October. But I mean, if we want to say, why is the program starting now when it was passed in 2018? I mean, we should all know why that was done, to start it two elections after the election that came in 2018. And if we're going to reference the fiscal analysis, which is also in the weeds for most people, then maybe we should put all those details, as Dan said, somewhere in an appendix rather than in the slideshow. But putting some and not putting others makes it confusing. So maybe we should get rid of all of these details, make it matter of fact, and then put this history in an appendix for those who want to understand it.
Go ahead, Commissioner Dan. You're on mute. Okay.
There. Okay. Well, I guess going back to the table and the numbers and things there, I guess one question is that we don't want to present like the 800,000 as the total amount that would be there for the 2026 election. So maybe there needs to be a way to have a blank spot for, you can have FY 25, 400,000 with, currently that's an asterisk, but that would be, so that's the asterisk. But then somewhere in the thing, it would be FY 2026 amount, and it'd have to be blank, like currently, or add that at the bottom. Like, so the amount available will be this plus whatever is appropriated, and we can sort of leave open. And then to the degree people want to have that conversation, we could say, well, if we're going to get to the, we have a big lift, if we're going to get to the full amount we recommend, and otherwise, so it's how much are we going to put in next year?
So, teacher, I'm going to come to you, but I just want to say a couple of things. So first of all, I want to acknowledge what Commissioner A. Diane is saying, and I fully understand what I assume to be and what I'm hearing is to be the point. We are not trying to, as a commission, look like or give the appearance that we are bashing a process before us, if I hear you correctly. And that definitely isn't our intent. That definitely isn't our intent. And the including of that information makes you feel as though that could be perceived that way.
Exactly.
Okay. And I hear you. I will say I liked the compromise that Commissioner Dan had brought up, and I will add a little bit more to that. I think that first off, I do want to put Ms. Warner-Wiggins, I do want to put in there what Dan had said about expanding that table and putting an empty slot for FY 2026. And then for the second table, putting in all of our recommendations so they can see how much we would want for 2026. And then to the point that Commissioner A. Diane had mentioned, we can leave off the chart on the presentation about how we got, how we didn't get there, how we didn't fund. But I will say that I do agree with Commissioner Dan and Commissioner Satitra, because I've been in certain places, and I agree with Commissioner A. Diane Williams. There are some places I've been where people want to get in the weeds. They're like, well, why are you asking for this much? And then why, well, this much is fine. And they want to know why we're asking for these numbers at this time. And I think it would behoove all the commissioners to have that ready access. So maybe if there was like another document that is like just, for the commissioners that kind of says, hey, if you're asked this, this is the answer. If you're, if you get this, this is the answer, da, 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 da. That's fine. I can give space for that. But I just want to be mindful that people are going to definitely ask those questions. I did not think that our little commission, many people knew about it as they did. And I get those questions and I'm like, oh, well, as a matter of fact. So I just want to make sure that we as a commission are prepared. And that is a question that we'll probably get. So to kind of Solomon it here, we can leave that language off, but have a separate doc. I know in slideshows, they have like this little bottom portion where they have like all the notes and stuff like that. Maybe if we could put it there for the commissioners, but also have it as a separate doc of just kind of like, hey, if you're asked this question based on these things from the slideshow, these are kind of the additional information and the point of context. If Ms. Nelson was presenting something to a fair elections commission for the state, I would want her to have all these different things because they're going to get in the weeds, and I would want her to feel comfortable with that. If she was presenting it to, and I don't want to denigrate anyone, if she's presenting it to a 6th grade class, right? You know, I doubt, now they may, when I was an educator, some of my 6th graders asked me questions like, so they may, but I doubt that they'd want to get that much into the weeds. So subsequently, just honoring what Commissioner Dan said about just different audiences and being mindful of that. And then also just kind of understanding where Commissioner A. Diane Williams is coming from. Okay, so teacher.
Yeah, in the beginning, when we described the commission, I think it's worthwhile putting a statement that we are required by the law that set us up to provide an annual recommendation to the council and the exec. And therefore, this is how we arrived at that number, right? I mean, I think that it's fair to explain our working on the slideshow, and the fact that we were only established in, what was our first meeting, October of 2023. So we've only had one round of doing this, right? And this is how we came up with this number. It's not as if we were formed in 2018 and we've had all this time to do the work that is required. So I think, you know, just putting a few facts down along those lines explains why this number is coming up now and how we came up with it, along with a link to the fiscal analysis. I think that would be.
And I think that's fine. I think that's fine. I'm just going to be very cautious of the language, just in the capacity of the concerns that Commissioner A. Diane brought up. But I do think, to your point, Commissioner Satitra, it is important to highlight, we just got started like 4 months ago, and this was passed in 2018. So this is how we got here. But we can do it in a way that honors kind of the concerns that are brought up by our other commissioner. So we'll play around with the language, Commissioner A. Diane, and we'll make sure that it, Satitra, captures the statement that we want to make, as well as kind of not, for lack of a better term, throwing anyone under the bus.
Yes, because it gives the appearance to me now that because we didn't get what we want, and of course we're concerned, but I don't think we need to just showcase that out to the public.
Well, we
get what we wanted, and it seems like that's the appearance I'm getting, and I don't think that is a professional appearance to give when we're all working together, the county executive, the county council, and us as commissioners.
I think I'm gonna let the Commissioner Satitra speak, but I think I will say this. I definitely Prince George's County has a wide range of audiences. And Commissioner A. Diane Williams, I definitely see an audience that would interpret that this way. But to Commissioner Satitra's point, I see an audience that is fully behind fair elections in a different way that would not interpret those comments that way, and would just see it as this fact-based, factual, just giving facts and things of that nature. And also, to put another caveat, the budget cycle isn't over. So the budget cycle ends May 31st. They have to sign it by like May 31st, June 1st. It has to be signed by May 31st. So technically, this is just the county executive's proposal. The county executive could change her mind. The county council could come back with a higher number in their negotiations. So we're literally at the beginning of April. We still have a month and a couple of more weeks of the negotiations that go on around the budget. So I don't feel like this is necessarily an attack from the perspective of, oh, we didn't get it. Now, if this was something that we were doing in June 1st, I could see that being a perception, but we're still in the budget cycle. And then I always want to be very objective and fair in understanding that Prince George's County has a wide range of people that view things a wide range of ways. And I definitely see both. I see the space for both things. And so I'm trying very hard to make sure we honor both, because I do want to give people the correct information, the right information, while also understanding I don't want anyone to feel like us as a commission are trying to attack someone, because that isn't our goal. But in all fairness, we did ask for a specific number based on calculations that came from the county. So we just have to find a way to eloquently thread that needle. And I think everyone on here can do that.
But I'm just surprised. We had this conversation when we had our workshop, and I thought it was resolved. And so when we're now bringing it back up again, it's so surprising.
The aspects of that conversation didn't entail this particular part of the presentation in relation to some of the things that we're talking about now. I know that we talked about not, like the constant theme has been not throwing the county under the bus, while also making sure that we gave certain information. And so right now, what we're discussing is, okay, hey, we're not going to include this, we're not going to include that, while also understanding that we have certain audiences that are going to directly ask about that. Like we're going to have, I can name like 5 or 6 different municipalities that once you go and start presenting, they're going to ask specifically these questions. And so to speak to the point that you're talking about, I'm honoring the point of, I understand that the thought is, hey, this was settled. What was settled was we're going to actively converse together to make sure that we don't give the impression that we're throwing anyone under the bus, while also understanding that we have a charge to give the facts as they are presented. That was my understanding of how we've settled this. And then right now, we're talking about how to actually implement that thought process.
I'm not asking you to change your facts. I'm just asking you not to present it in a document of this sort.
Yes, ma'am. And I think we all agreed to that. But we also stated from the perspective of, like, yeah, I think that's where we came to, or is that what now are we, where we're not in that space? Which part is that we're not there?
I don't know, because we keep rambling. We going from this section to that section. Like I said, I thought we resolved this earlier. I'm not trying to eliminate anybody from not giving their opinion. I'm just trying to make sure that we are a new commission and we want to give the appearance, and we want to get along with county executive, the county council, and work as a team. But the way we're trying to word this is like we're saying, well, we asked this and we didn't get it, so now let's just put it out there. And I don't think that's right.
Well, and again,
okay.
Go ahead.
Go
No,
ahead.
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, and what I'm going to say is this. We asked for something, but we're still in the middle of the cycle. And to me, when you're still in the middle of a cycle of something, to respond in that kind would be from the perspective of once the cycle was over. This is my interpretation. If the cycle was over and we were presenting it like this, I would say, okay, yeah, that makes sense in regards to that disposition. But the fact that we're still in the budget cycle, there's still space for negotiations. There's still space for people to ask about this. And we're talking about presenting this between now and whenever we have outreach in May, in April, before June. I don't think that that's the impression that I feel like we're giving. I don't feel like we're giving the impression of, we asked for this, we didn't get it. I think, and in all transparency, that those are the facts. Like, but in the same breath, I could see if this was written in such a way to where we were calling out people, where we were saying certain things about people or this and third. But what we're saying is that this is the proposed budget. This is the proposed allocation. This is what we asked for.
Mhm.
And then this is what we asked for these number of years. And then to the point that you had made earlier, removing the calculations of 2018 to 2026, removing that, having that as a side thing for anyone who wants to get in the weeds for any other presentations, and also removing any other language that would come off accusatory, but also reiterating that, hey, just for clarification, if the question is, well, why are you asking for this big portion? We did not start our work to even give this report until like 4 or 5 months ago. I think we can tell the story. I think we could tell the story without omitting facts in a way that is still respectful of everyone involved. And I think, like I said before, and I'm going to reiterate, that it's just about using the language that is appropriate.
Okay. Excuse me, can I interject for 1 second? Is the language or the proposed language, what does it say? Could you read it out to me so I can just kind of acquaint myself?
We're on the actual PowerPoint, and we're just talking about adding certain things and taking certain things away. One of the recommendations was to add a chart about where we would be if we were fully funded from 2018 to 2026. Commissioner A. Diane brought up that shouldn't be within the actual PowerPoint presentation because of how the community could perceive it. And so that will be removed, and it will be on like a commissioner's, if they ask, kind of sort of back document, if you will. But and then on the initial like fair elections conversation around what the fair elections is, a brief history of how we got here, talking about the other jurisdictions. We were Commissioner Saticha was talking about adding a point and where when we explain the commission's responsibilities, because that's on like the third slide, kind of explaining that we were started in 2023 and we've only had a few months to meet and then subsequently give a report.
Okay. I mean, I think that's fine. I mean, that's fine because actually factually that's where we are. I think maybe the concern is coming up with conclusions in your statement. I'm used to hearing that in like a trial setting where you have to stick to the facts and not go to conclusory statements. So I think if you keep it fact-based, this is what happened, almost like a technical writing situation almost. I think everything should be all right. I mean, the fact is that the commission hasn't started until 2023, and that's a fact. It should be. I think that the public needs to know that, and the fact that when this comes out, like you said, we're still in the budgetary process. So there's no conclusion that we can reach right now with respect to the budget, except the fact that the commission is requesting X number of dollars. Is that correct?
Yes.
And I think when you do that, I think everything should be all right. Because like I said, like you said, we're in the middle of the budget negotiation process.
And then to Mr. Maddox, to your point, thank you for that, Mr. Maddox. I think to your point, I think another point that and Commissioner A. Diane, you can tell me what you think about this. We can have, once the budget is passed, we would have to just make a few tweaks to this particular presentation as we continue to present to the public and let them know about this particular program. We would just have to make a few tweaks about, okay, now the budget has passed, this is how much we got. And we can make tweaks on removing certain requests and things of that nature, and then talking about possible requests for 2026. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's okay. And Ms. Wiggins, please tell me you were taking notes. Okay. All right. And so then, yes,
I've been
yes.
typing into the presentation itself, so.
Okay. Thank you. All right.
So can I?
Mm-hmm.
So I think the table
Mm-hmm.
has a title of FY 2025 proposed budget, or at
Mm-hmm.
least the original drafted. I think maybe we just need to rethink that, because I think what is important is, like, as a title, is what's available for the 2026 election. So the 2026, to somehow convey it's a work in progress, so that it would be the 2026 election, or amount, and then we know we have 400,000. There's proposed, and then it'd be like, we recommended total amount, which could be over just in one column, and we recommended this year, but also, and again, keep it all fact-based. And here's how much there is from FY 24, and then here's how much proposed, and then there's the TBD or the blank then, and then it's for people to fill in the blank, like for next year or this year, if they want to, advocate more. But anyway,
I
I think
do
framing it around that total amount might be helpful.
I do think that we should, that makes sense, to kind of get people to understand that this is for the election of 2026. So yeah, okay, that's fair. That's good. So teacher, Commissioner, teacher.
Yeah, so maybe the 400,000 should be the county executive's proposed budget, because the council is still working on that budget, right? So somehow to make it known, this is the amount that was put into the budget by the executive, and we don't know where it's going to end up, right? So however that framing is best to do in the language, we put that in. I mean, my thought process is that one of the jobs of the commission is to make recommendations so that the 2026 cycle, which will be the first cycle, will be smooth, and which is why we made the recommendation we did. And it still is our job to make sure the process is smooth, and it will come back to us again after the budget is done. So I don't think there's any shirking that responsibility for us.
I do think, okay, so two things. So first, we definitely need to reframe that title card to what Commissioner Dan said, something to that effect, and clarifying that this is for the Fair Election Fund for the general election of 2026. So that's just clear. In regards to, I do think that, and it could just be simple as putting CE, where we have that, where it has that line for the budget, where it says proposed. Yeah, we don't need to put like a whole nother table and then just kind of put a question mark of what is the council going to say. We don't need to do that. I think that would be going under kind of what Commissioner A. Diane said. But I also think that, to your point, if we just add the CE or county executives proposed for that 400,000 for 2025, that's fine. I think that's fine, because that's her proposal. That's not the county council. So I think we should add there, to your point.
Well, right now there's an asterisk that says that figure was submitted by the county executive.
Okay,
that's the county council will review adjustments to and adopt the budget by June 1st.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then let's leave that, but maybe with like, I guess, increase the lining where you have the asterisk part, just so that could be a little bit clearer. And then y'all, we at the end of it. Unless y'all got something else, add just the contact information in relation to the website and how to reach the commission. And I feel like if we can, with all those changes, if we can approve the slideshow, then we can get started. Because I think we have this part where we want to talk about outreach today. The proposed budget and then outreach. We could start outreaching. Once this slideshow is done, and then also Ms. Warner-Wiggins, we do need to have, and we can work on that via email this week, on like kind of like, hey, if they ask you this is the answer to that. Here's the citation. Let's work on that this week, have it completed, so that we can start outreaching to our groups. So we can start sending people the slideshow, asking if they would like for us to present to them as commissioners and in our capacity. And we could talk more about that for the outreach. So
I'm sorry, can we go back to the
yes, ma'am.
Wanted this week?
Oh, I mean, we are making the changes to the slideshow now. We can vote on that and then move forward. I was just talking about that other portion that we had talked about, like the internal document that would just kind of be, hey, if you're asked about these other points that weren't included in the slideshow, this is what it is. So just kind of like the 2018 table going to 2026, like that sort of thing.
Okay, so just how you got to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And again, you and me and whoever else can be on the chat. We could talk about it and go from there. Okay, and then like I said, the last slide would be the contact information in relation to our website and how to reach the commission and things of that nature. And I also would just kind of put on there like, hey, send us an email if you would like us to come out and present, because we'd love to. That would be great to do.
And you might have noticed on the updated contact sheet I sent that there is now a general email address, fair elections as to.pg.nd.us.
Great.
So feel free to give that out to anyone.
Yes.
So who reads that?
That comes to me.
Okay.
All right. So let's go ahead and vote on the changes, and then yeah. So do I have a motion to accept the changes to the slideshow so that we can start disseminating information to the public?
Can she send the changes? They're all kind of over the place. Can she send the changes now to us?
Sure. I think she was
I can send you what I have in here now. It's not. Yeah. It's just a few.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
So would you like to review that and then we come back to voting on that at the end, Ms. A. Diane? Or Commissioner A. Diane?
Yes. Yes, why not?
Okay. Can you send that to everybody, Ms. Warner-Wiggins? While Ms. Warner-Wiggins is doing that, I want to stay on track to the agenda. Commissioner Satitra, I guess, wanted to make some comments about the proposed budget. And then we can revisit this when we get to the public outreach part. That way we can revisit it, vote on it, and then talk about the public outreach. Does that work for everybody? All right, go ahead, Commissioner Satitra.
No, I didn't have anything much more to add beyond what I already said about the budget, that it is in some sense our responsibility to give that figure because we have decided that that is what it would take to run a smooth election. And if it falls short, then we also should be stating that it has fallen short and that it may not, that there may be problems associated with running a fair elections set of candidates who decide to run for it. We may or we may not. It depends on how many people decide to run for it, but maybe it is a point that we need to make.
I think that that's fair. I think we should all have an understanding of where the fair elections was born from a statewide capacity as well as from a Prince George's capacity. A lot of grassroots organizers, a lot of community members across a whole bunch of different platforms and audiences felt as though there was a lot of money in the election cycle and that some candidates that the community would have wanted was not being able to be received because they didn't have the same level of financial support. So what public financing does is it allows for for lack of a better term, a popular candidate from the perspective of them being popular with the community, but not necessarily probably having the funding to be able to receive funding to run. And it garnered it has like national support in some capacities. And then of course it has statewide support in some capacities and in different jurisdictions. And then that's kind of like the brief, very brief, like snapshot version of how we got to this place. And sometimes, you know, that comes off like you're attacking, you know, established candidates or the establishment. But the reality is you're just calling out what precipitated or what pushed this legislation into place. It would be much like if someone were to say, we have a rain barrel piece of legislation. And that's because we have flood zones and we really wanted to make sure that rain was being collected in a safe and proper manner so that we can also reduce water waste and things of that nature. Like you're just explaining how this legislation came to be. But the legislation itself is pushed by the citizens. So
I'm not gonna eat now. That's gonna come up. Well,
yeah. I want to eat as well too, Commissioner Dane. Just messing with you. But okay. So I do think it's important to explain those sort of things. I think it's important to talk. Commissioner A. Diane, Ms. Warner-Wiggins sent the presentation. Yeah. I think it's important to talk about those things. I do think it's important to understand, and every commissioner has brought this up. It is very important to understand the audience that you are presenting to. So this isn't something that just Commissioner A. Diane has brought up. Every commissioner has brought this up in regards to our presentations. And I think it's important to understand that we do have different audiences and they are going to want to know different things. So I think it's all a fair assessment. All right, so in regards to the 2025 proposed budget, I just want to give a few comments. We have what the county executive proposed. It is $400,000. It is not what we requested. It's not what we requested, but that was her decision. We all know about the other kind of space in relation to the finances. However, this is something that is very important to the community. It's very important to different people. So we'll see what happens. This is the part where everyone's negotiating. So the county council has not submitted what they would request to be the amount. So there's that space for that. There's that to see where they're at. That's just kind of where we're at. We have what she proposed. We're going to see what the county council proposes, and then we're going to go out and inform the community. I think it is important to just kind of tell people, hey, this is what happens if we don't fully fund it. The reason why I say that is everyone here has a household, everyone here runs bills and things of that nature. You know what happens if you don't have enough for the light bill. Like you know the lights don't get cut off. And so explaining this in context to the Fair Elections Commission in relation to, hey, we have asked for this number in regards to these calculations, in particular to these budgets. And if this is not funded to this capacity, this is the possibility. Now, it might not be the possibility. You might get one person running for public finance and, you know, it doesn't happen the way that it shakes out. But it is to a point to explain like, hey, if this is not funded this way, this is what will happen. That's just my statements on that. Any questions, any feedback, any thoughts? Yes, Commissioner Satish.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to the last point you made, is that we want to be fair also to candidates who choose to use this program, that when they come in, they should know that they may not get the full amount that they think they're going to get. If somebody's running for a district seat and thinks they're going to get 75,000 in matching funds and comes in and finds they can only get 30,000 in matching funds, that would be a real waste of time and effort that they are putting into and not being able to run a race. And that, you know, so I think that we don't know, we can't predict. I mean, 800, if we get this 4 and 4, 800,000, then 10 candidates could run for district seats and get fully financed. 4 candidates could run for at-large seats and get fully financed, or 1 exec could run and get fully financed. But you couldn't get all of those happening at the same time. So I think just doing the math and doing the additions and having that thought in front and center of our minds of, how do you make this program successful, I think is worthwhile.
I agree with that. Ms. Warner Wiggins, can you add to the background doc? Can you add those calculations of, hey, if funded at this capacity, like you can get 1 county executive seat, or you can get this, or you can get that for the 2026 cycle. And Commissioner A. Diane, we're not going to put that out on the presentation or in public. That's just for us to have as we present.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
So just so I'm clear, we're talking if they're fully funded, or they get the maximum amount that they could possibly get, what the possible combinations could be.
Yes, under 800,000 and under 800,000 as it is right now. Now, to the point that Commissioner Dan had brought up, we really don't know what it's going to be because we still have to have the funding for 2026. So what we would say is, as of right now, like to date, these are how many people can run for that capacity, blah, blah, blah. And then I would like the calculations for to date, if they were to give the money that we requested for the 2025 year.
So I think in that context, just simply saying what the 2.65 million would get, because that was our total number that we were trying to get before the 26 election, right? We were going to add 2 million this year and 1.25 next year to bring it to a total of 2.65, which would fully fund 2 candidates at each level for each district race.
I think we would need 3 calculations.
So that's
I think we would need 3 calculations.
And again, all these are in the notes, right, for us to use or not, or whatever.
Yeah, these are in the notes for us to use, but I think we would need 3 sets of calculations. So we would need up to now, funded as is at 2025, these are the people that could get blah, 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 with the caveat that there still would be a 2026 determination. Then we'd put right now, if this was funded to what we requested for 2025, this is how many people could run and blah, 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 with the possibility of the 2026 determination. And then finally, the third one will be, to your point, Commissioner Satitra, look, you give us all the money we asked for, these are how many people can run in this way, in this how, in this capacity. Because if you give the first calculation and then you jump to the last calculation, I feel like there's a piece missing there. And I feel like you need to do the first calculation that is missing the 2026, our calculations missing the 2026, and then the full calculations.
I just want to make sure it's clear that the combinations are there could be a lot of different combinations.
It's just
for how that money.
We could just give like 3 or 4 combinations for each.
Okay.
Or no, sorry. Yeah, we don't need to go to the 1,000 combinations of the Doctor Who, but we can give a couple just to give like, and this is all if they ask, if like, I definitely know a couple of audiences that me and Commissioner Dan and Commissioner Satitra and probably the other commissioners will get in front of that are going to ask these questions. And so I want to make sure that the commissioners have this information. And then I know, like, again, you could be presenting this to some 4th graders and they just want to know how this affects, recess. So it could be a lot. I'm not being facetious. We could go in front of an elementary school. So, yes, Commissioner Adan.
Yeah, may I make a recommendation that when we do the presentation, whoever does the first one, that we can go with them or sit in and see how it's actually done. Both audience, we can have the audience, like you said, they're going to ask these questions, and then the audience that may understand.
That's fine. I volunteer as tribute.
Okay. I want to be in your presentation, okay?
Yes, yes, yeah, yeah. Me and Commissioner Diane gonna be presenting together, y'all. We're gonna make our rounds together. Mm-hmm. All right, so we're back, guys. We're almost at the end. So we're at the public outreach part. Mrs. Warren Wiggins has sent out the presentation. If you could just kind of go over it real quick. While you're going over it, before we vote, I'm going to talk about the public outreach. We had a meeting. It was so wonderful. It was so successful, in my opinion. Everyone was giving their information and their energy on the public outreach. And so just kind of some updates on that. We're in the process of compiling a list of all the organizations, the civic associations, the HOA associations, and then these other associations that we would want to present to that don't fall under that. So like the Jack and Jills, the Links, the sororities and fraternities in the area, those sort of kind of spaces. Commissioner Satitra is going to create a, what is it? Excel sheet, a spreadsheet, and shared with the rest of the commissioners. And so if you can dump contact information in there as well. And then we're also going to have like a point to say, you know, who would want to take the lead on that. So for example, if you have a personal connection with the AKAs and you want to take the point, or as our wonderful Commissioner Nelson, with the Delta Sigma Thetas, if she wanted to take a point on that, we would love that. And then we would just support you, Commissioner Nelson. You can definitely put that in the actual spreadsheet. Hey, here's the contact information. I would like to take point, or if you would not like to take point, you're just giving us contact information. That's fair as well. Does everyone understand that part? And then I'm looking to start reaching out to people essentially as soon as like next week. Oh, that's another thing. Ms. Warner Wiggins, we need like a kind of an outreach letter that we could just send electronically with the commissioner branding, like that we had talked about earlier with the names and things of that nature, but basically saying, hey, we are the commission, explaining who we are, and that we would like to come out and give a presentation at your next meeting or something to that effect. What is your availability and how that we can do that? If we could draft that email as well. And to be honest, I would like to start sending out emails next week. Thoughts? Okay, all right.
You had indicated we were going to do some videos. Are you still thinking about doing that as well, or is that off the table?
It is not off the table. I think once we do our first in-person or first Zoom kind of presentation, get a good feel of how it goes, I would love to do a video with all of us, but kind of like a presentation with that. I think, Ms. Warner Wiggins, I don't know if you're a videographer, if we can just impress upon your editing skills, or that smile said, girl, find somebody else. But no, like, I think it would be really nice if we could have some sort of package explaining who the commissioners are, and then going into Commissioner A. Diane's point of what we talked about, like a nice video that we could share out and have on our page as well.
My thought is we probably want to reach out to if the county council has a communications team.
Oh, okay.
That might be your best bet for something like that.
Okay.
Because we wouldn't have, in finance, we don't have the in-house capability for anything fancy other than recording the meeting and posting it somewhere.
Okay. Can you do like a can you do like an e-introduction for me, and I'll just take it from there?
Yes.
Okay. And then my thoughts around that, Commissioner A. Diane Williams, I do think that we should have like everyone kind of giving like a, hi, I'm this and this person, blah, blah, blah. And then going into the presentation, like an actual nice little video. So I think it would be great. All right, that's what I got for public outreach. So let's circle back to the vote on the PowerPoint presentation. Has everyone had a chance to look at it, get their eyes on it? Okay, can I have a motion to accept the PowerPoint presentation?
I move that we accept the power presentation. Today's date is April the 10th, 2024.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I second.
All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And
Aye.
hand raised. All right, and we got it. And Ms. Warner Williams is going to send it out to us, and we're going to send out letters next week. Commissioner, so let me just wrap up so that we can go ahead and hop off. Commissioner Bellatron is going to send, Satitra is going to send us the spreadsheet so that we can start dumping in contact information, and then who would take point. And then also I'll have I like a little point in there, Ms. Warner Wiggins, where we can kind of check off whether we sent them a letter or not. So that's coming this week. The PowerPoint will be fixed up and sent out this week. We'll have the background information sent out as well for presenting, and then the letter to be sent out to the public in regards to saying, hey, we're the commission, we can come out and do a presentation. Okay.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
Is it possible that we can get a background screen for all of us for the Fair Election Funds Commission? So when we do go out and we have our meeting, we'll all be uniformly.
Mm-hmm. Can we get that maybe within the week or so, Ms. Warner Wiggins? It doesn't have to be by Friday.
So what do you have in mind, I guess?
Just something like yours,
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. We can just get something. This is just basically a generic background with the words across. So that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I like that too. And then just the Fair Elections Commission, Prince George's County. All right. Okay. Well, if there is no other business, next month we will be going over the summary guide. So please review it. Please take notes. Please see, like, if your feedback and things of that nature. We will be going over the summary guide definitely next time we meet. Mr. Max, you came on screen. I think you want to say something.
Yes. Councilmember, I did talk to Councilmember Denoga.
Okay.
He has answered the questions. He had forgotten to get it to me right now, but he's going to get it to me very soon, and then I will forward it. Do you want me to forward it through Miss Warner Wiggins, or how do you want me to do that?
You could just send it on the same email chain. That's fine.
Okay. All right. As soon as I get that from him, I will forward those answers to those questions.
And as a reference point, because I see some commissioners referral browse, we had a conversation. Commissioner Diane, we had a conversation. We were having a conversation where we had some questions about the language of the bill. And so we were kind of going back and forth around the questions around the bill in regards to who do we need to contact in regards to applicants, to making sure we got as many people informed as possible that could possibly want to use the Fair Elections Fund. And so we wanted to ask the bill drafter, hey, like, we just have a couple of questions. So that is what Mr. Maddox is referring to. We'll share out that information as well to the rest of the commissioners. We were just asking to make sure on the front end, like, hey, we should probably be sending this out to everyone. So we'll send that information out to the rest of the commissioners. Yes, Commissioner Satitra.
Yeah, and this is just in the context that the bill language says that people with open campaign accounts who want to join public financing and have met some certain criteria or not met some certain criteria have to actually file by the end of this June, saying that they are interested in running a publicly financed campaign. And if they don't do it by the end of this June, they basically lose out for 2026. And that was a letter that we wrote and Ms. Warner Wiggins sent out. We wanted to make sure. My reading was that it needed to go to everybody who ran for any county race or state race. And so we wanted to make sure that it did.
Well, let's make sure I got it clear. Those being publicly financed are for county exec and county council races.
Right.
Okay. So
Yes, but they
not
may have
any-
run for other races prior.
Right, but I'm saying if they're running for county council or county exec races, that they'll fall in there. I mean, if they ran in the other races that were not that doesn't matter. We're talking about, but they're running for county council and county executive races, correct?
Right, but if they ran for delegate or senator
In the past.
in the past and are
Okay.
intending to run now for executive and
Right.
council, still come under this umbrella.
Yes, that
And
is
so the
correct.
letter needs to go to everybody, Prince George's, who ran for anything.
Right, but
That's
like
all.
I said, okay, I just wanted to clarify that. Okay.
Right, right.
Yes, this was the email. This was the email thread. And thank you, Mr. Maddox. I really appreciate all the work that you did around answering that question. Thank you, Ms. Warner Wiggins, because I know we kind of impressed upon you to get the cocktail of how to get that out. But I think what we landed on was, because there's such a short window for someone to make a decision of running publicly financed, like it's literally within the next like month and a half, if that, we want to make sure that any person that could possibly be contemplating running publicly financed for one of these seats has the information.
That's fine.
Yeah, that was, and I appreciate you, Mr. Maddox, I do. And so that's kind of what the conversation and dialogue was about, because we at first had the understanding that it was only for people who previously had run for council seats or the options that were available. And the reason why we want to make sure that we're doing this is because someone could have ran for the Senate in 26, right? But now they're like, look, I want to make the jump to county council. And so we want to make sure that they understand, if you want to do that under public financing, you got a month, make this decision and go from there.
Correct.
Now, when is that letter going out?
So the letter, remember, we already sent the first round of those letters out. Remember the letters that Ms. Warner Wiggins shared out with the whole commission that already kind of touched on people who had open campaigns. This is to send that same letter, but to a broader spectrum, to send it to anyone who ran on the state level and on the county level outside of for county council or county executive.
Oh, okay. Now, I'm sorry, I don't recall receiving the letter. Maybe I did. Was it sent to the board, to the commission?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
And I have to apologize, but would you resend it, please? To
Sure.
me, everybody else got it, fine. I just don't recall it.
I also
Alright.
want to make sure everyone understands that if someone has an open campaign account, at least my understanding of reading the law, if they haven't spent anything, then they don't hit that June deadline. It's only
Right.
individuals that have spent something.
Spent or received,
Right.
right?
Received
Yeah.
too.
Right.
That's the other part, because we do know of people that are receiving, and they
Right.
might need to stop receiving.
Right.
So
Mhm.
but yes. And then okay. Try this again. All hearts and minds are clear. Got that from all right. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
Oh, come on, y'all. I'm about to wait a minute. Wait a minute, y'all. Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All right. I will see y'all next month. Probably some of y'all sooner. Y'all have a wonderful evening. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, y'all.
Bye. Bye-bye.